Right, you ready?
I'm ready. I'm recording.
Oh shit!
What's up, everybody?
Are we? What's happening over here? You know what happens is that this guy tells me that we need to do this thing at early times. Forgot to tell me that I'm now 3 hours ahead instead of 2 hours, or what is it? 3 hours behind instead of 2 hours behind.
Correct.
So I woke up late. Then he wants to do this extra thing. Then he doesn't tell me he's recording while I'm paying my credit card bill.
I think I said,
Paul.
"Are you ready?" Half I did that. Are you ready? Like 3 times. But that's all right. It's okay. We're ready now. We're here.
I'm not ready now.
Welcome. This is PLD Projects. This is a. If you like what you see so far, hit that like and subscribe. If you don't, I kind of get it.
We've scared everyone else away already. It's fine.
I kind of get it. This is the Big Blue Box with PJ and PLD. We started this podcast in the anniversary editions popped up. The first episode with David Tennant's return, leading into the Shudigawa of it all, and we are gearing up towards.
Wait, what, the what now? What are we talking about?
We're talking about the new.
How we were here to talk about Jason. I'm wearing my Jason stuff right now.
That's the other episode we're doing later on. We're doing 2 episodes today, PJ. And this one's actually only a half an episode, so we don't have to worry about it too much. We're not doing a full episode on this. We're just doing a little.
If I'm not doing the other podcast where we talk about Doctor Who before we talk about everything else, then are we even doing the other podcast?
That's gonna be a good question. It's gonna be interesting to see how that one works.
I just want to throw that out there because part of our charm is that it takes almost an hour to get into our episodes because we talk about Doctor Who instead of literally anything else.
That's actually why we started a Doctor Who podcast, to try to see if that would fix things. It's gone okay. Okay,
it's adorable that you think that.
I'm positive. I'm optimistic, which I am about.
You are positively optimistic sometimes about things. I will grant you that.
About Doctor Who is one I am positively optimistic about. Look at that segue. We got a trailer the other day for the new season, the 8-episode season that's going to start in May 10th, May 11th. We did get a chance to do a trailer. I considered doing a full-on reaction to it, but PJ and I both weren't around at the same time and just kind of felt like, I can't wait to watch it.
Plus, I'm going to be honest with you. I couldn't have waited to watch it.
It was tough. It's tough. PJ has no, what's the word I'm looking for? No willpower, patience, all that good stuff. Yeah, you're like, get into it. He's like a little kid on Christmas. I actually waited the hour for my son to get home so we could watch it with him.
You're a good father. I am me. I only must answer to myself.
Well, from the day we decided that we would at least have a little mini episode where we look at the trailer. I'm not going to do a reaction. We're not going to fake reaction. That's not what we want to do. But we can take a look at what happened, maybe give our thoughts on it. And before I actually go beat by beat the trailer, what were your overall thoughts of the trailer? It's going to be that.
This has been very interesting, just in a time of kind of renewal for the show. And so this is our first real trailer for a series run by Disney and Bad Wolf. Like, I was very curious how they were going to try to sell it, basically.
Right.
The specials basically sold themselves because it was the 60th. You had Tenant, you had Tate. Like, you really kind of sold it as a package. We already knew about all that. We don't know a ton about the new season.
Right.
Other than obviously we were getting most of those characters back. Unit was still going to be involved. But I was very excited to see a trailer that kind of opened the door to that world and showing us things again. And one thing I really appreciated in it was that it felt like the trailer for season 5, when the show reset with Matt Smith and began again, and it was selling itself to a bigger audience because BBC was getting more involved and all of that. So they were trying to sell it to a new audience. And it felt very grandiose and epic and really, fun. That's what this trailer felt like, because it feels like it's entering an entire new world with the Disney Plus of it all and this new viewership. I mean, if you look at the numbers, they already had like what was it, 4 million views in 2 days.
Yeah.
It's the most that Doctor Who has seen in a very, very,
Um,
very long time,
if ever, to
and
be honest with
if ever, right. So, for me, the thing I like the most with this trailer is it just feels very, very much like opening that door, and it's very fun, and it just gives me all the vibes of this is Doctor Who as you've known it, but it's also not Doctor Who as you've known it. It seems like they're really leaning in on that fantasy supernatural aspect in a way that we haven't necessarily seen Russell T Davies do before. And the song usage of David Bowie and
you.
Changes is so perfect because it is aware these are changes. This is different. This is a new thing, and I really, really love that it leans on that in the right way.
Yeah.
This is a very good trailer.
Yes, I agree wholeheartedly with everything you said. I want to also double down on the David Bowie changes thing because it also feels like it's a layered commentary on things. Not only is it change as far as the Doctor Who universe goes, the BBC, Disney
But it's the
Plus,
shooty of it
and
all.
the shooty of it all, but also it's also feels like the story is about change. The
Yeah.
story we're going to get is about change. I found it amazing that we'll get to like the one beat, but like when the butterfly stepping on butterfly thing, which is might be eventually be a joke or something
Sound
to
of
that effect. I'm
Thunder.
not sure. Sound of Thunder, exactly. It actually felt like we never really fully for a show about time travel. We haven't really fully explored that kind of thing in Doctor Who too often, as far as the main character goes. There'd be little bits and pieces of things, but going back to the mavity of it all, I feel like
Yeah.
we're going to see more changes and more cause and effect of what's going to happen in the universe as we know it. We maybe see minor changes that turn out to be huge changes down the line, and I feel like this is really tackling that. So I think it's again, I agree, it's a perfect trailer for what
Yeah, I think it's funny because you bring that up, and I'm actually watching Star Trek Strange New Worlds right now,
Mm,
for the first time, and the season finale of season 1 actually deals with one of the characters going back in time and changing a single event because it will course correct a worse future, and I don't think Doctor Who has done as much of that as you'd expect in those,
right,
like, kind of fun time travel ways.
for a
As
60-year-old
weird as that
show, right?
sounds. Yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong, are there definitely episodes
Yes,
that deal with time travel and change?
yeah,
Yes, like, there no, don't get me
absolutely,
wrong, they do, but none of this, like, Sound of Thunder, characters going back in time to stop a thing from happening
right.
in a specific way. Um,
And changing themselves too, is that's what like
right.
the deep changes in themselves. So
Yeah, it's kind of really brand new territory, and I love that little beat
yeah,
where, well, what if I step on a butterfly? Well, that's not gonna happen, and then she steps on a butterfly and her appearance totally changes.
green antenna
Um,
alien of some kind, and the gulp that Judy got again
yeah.
is like so note perfect for Doctor Who. I couldn't have loved it more.
Well, and it's interesting too because we'll kinda get into it, but there's also we now know that there's the Jonathan Groff episode we've all kind of known about, and we knew it was a period piece. Now we really saw some of that in action.
Mm,
I'm still very curious to see who he is. He's not actually in the trailer, which I thought was fascinating.
yeah,
So it seems like they're still kind of hiding some of that.
we have our own theories, and we try
Yeah.
to speculate responsibly, as Ken Knapsack and Joseph Skirwitz would say on their Star Wars
Yes.
podcast for Center. But we every once in a
We
while
have
we
our
let
own.
our theories go wild a little bit.
Yeah, and I mean, it's not totally like off base
Correct,
what we've
right?
been feeling about it, but I'm very curious. I'm very interested to see which of the episodes in the trailer was the Moffat episode
Yeah.
because we've known for a little while very unofficially that Moffat was back. He was being very coy and playing with it for a long time that why would I go back? Why would I go back? But
I'd have to be mad to go back. Okay, yes.
yeah, well, he's definitely a
Yeah,
madman with a box.
exactly. That's what we all knew.
Uh
We already knew was happening as soon as he said that. But yeah,
Right.
this now it's
So
official.
he's officially come back. We know that there was a shot of his episode in the original teaser
Mhm.
for the season. I'm curious what of this episode was his or not, because I can definitely see the Sound of Thunder thing being a Stephen Moffat
Oh,
type
absolutely.
of beat.
Absolutely. He always did. I mean, for love him or hate him, some people have strong feelings against him or how his series ended up with Capaldi. They didn't like a lot of the stuff he did. They thought he was overdone by the end of it. That's fine. Your miles may vary on that. I love Moffat. I think he did a wonderful job overall. Yeah, he might have been a little bit too over the top at times, a little too chaotic, but overall, I think he was definitely far more positive than negative. But I think one thing almost all the Doctor Who fans, especially new Who fans, would say was he probably did some of his best work while in the writing room underneath RTD. So
Mhm.
I too am very interested to see that dynamic come into play again. A Stephen Moffat written uh, at RTD, not directed, but show run directed in a way, and see how it goes. I think it could be wonderful. I hope we get another episode like we would get from him.
I
Um,
wouldn't be shocked if we see him do an episode a season again,
yeah,
frankly.
I wouldn't be surprised either.
Everything about that really speaks volumes to me that Russell even reached out to him. He said that he was the first call that he had made
Yeah,
when he knew he was coming back. And the second was to Chris Chibnall. Chibnall turned it down, of course, because he was already coming off of having just done,
right.
3 seasons in the specials. But, I think it actually speaks volumes to Russell as a person who reached out to the previous showrunners and was like, look, new era. I've come back. We have this totally new world, and I want you guys to be involved.
Right.
Um, and this will be interesting too because we were talking about this privately the other day. I think this puts Moffat as the one person who's written more Doctor stories than any other writer that I am aware of in live action because he will have written for 9, he'll have written for the War Doctor, for the 8th
Right.
Doctor, for the 1st Doctor, the 12th Doctor, the 11th Doctor, the 10th Doctor, now the
Right.
15th Doctor. Moffat's been all over the Doctor's timeline in the most interesting way now,
Yeah, absolutely.
in a way that not everyone else can say. And I think Russell comes in just behind him because
Right.
he'll have written for 9, 10, 11, um, 14, 15,
I
6 in
mean,
the
yeah.
audios.
Chibnall
Theoretic,
might be up there too, considering especially the Power of the Doctor stuff he had. Like,
yeah,
'cause he had, I mean, he knows that one shot he got to do like 5, 6, 7, 8 all in one
yeah,
shot
that's a
there.
good point. Yeah, plus
Uh,
Fugitive Doctor.
no, and your Doctor and everything else. Obviously, Chibnall did some Matt Smith stuff and everything else as well. So he's got to be up there as well. But your
It
point does
it's just
hold
so
water.
interesting though,
Yeah,
right? Like,
yeah,
as because you don't think about it that way a lot because so frequently when you look at TV shows and especially in the time of Doctor Who, like it's come and go with writers, but not that many of the older series writers really got to play with the toys in a way that now look at how these guys are.
in toy
Like
box, right?
it's really
Absolutely.
kind of interesting.
I agree. I agree. Let's look into the trailer itself. Now we have it out there. Actually, I want to put it this way. I think I'll hide our underlay there. We're not going to listen to the sound wise. Like I said, this is not a reaction. We just want to like kind of look at the shots. Now we open up obviously with the who knew and that Tony Stark lent out his plans to Unit to build the Unit Tower. But that's basically what it is.
Doctor Who is a Marvel Cinematic Universe show confirmed.
Confirmed. Um, let's let it go
I
there. Okay,
love
so
this though because it feels like a throwback to where we first meet Shooty.
right,
Right? And so for him to be back here and also in such high spirits is so fascinating because in a lot of ways this should be a tragic reminder
right,
of a time that he was not himself
right.
and was forced into this moment. But especially with him, the give me the lovin'
That
and
was a
just
great
so
line.
excited. Uh and the way he delivers it.
That's what it is, and Shooty has such charisma. He has such charisma for days that I can't see him being anything but a fan favorite. Like we mentioned before when we did the anniversary episodes, I don't think we've ever had a doctor just step into the role so seamlessly before. Like
Yeah.
we knew right away, boom. Even our favorite doctors, Matt Smith, Peter Capaldi, still needed a little bit of time to kind of really
Even
step into
Tenant.
that role, and Tennant as well. Absolutely, all the best ones. They needed that moment to kind of like step into the role. Maybe it's because I mean, I will say maybe it's partially because we're used to leaving David Tennant behind at some point. Maybe that's why it was easier for us. Maybe, but it also has a lot to do with shooting as a whole because he just had
Uh,
such star power to him.
I think that it's a little of A and a little of B, and I also think, honestly, it's also just because with the shooty of it all, we've also never had a doctor who got half an episode basically
Right.
to be regenerated. That was
Right.
such a new thing, especially considering we talked about it a lot. There was a lot of people who said that they were like, well, Shooty kind of overshadows 14 and David Tennant. It's like, not really, but they also pivoted to that 14 is tired and 15 is not. And
Right.
that is why he's the one who ultimately helps
Right. It makes
save
sense.
the day and fix everything. And it made him stand out because he was so lovely and so fun.
So chaotically energy. He had a lot of that Matt Smith energy. To be honest, the young, vibrant energy. That's where he got that from. And there's different styles of Doctor. Obviously, I love Peter Capaldi, but he was more of the old grumpy kind, which I appreciated. But it's like me, old and grumpy. But he was definitely more. It was definitely more of the young, vibrant, chaotic energy. So we go to the next shot here. I mean, I don't know about you. This kind of looks a little bit like where Jodie regenerated, but I don't know if it's the same place or not.
I don't know. And it's interesting because there's a shot later in this same place with the TARDIS looking a lot more dilapidated and broken, and there's all these flowers and things around it. So I'm very curious what that means, because is that 14's TARDIS?
Yeah.
Is that we know that 14 had the TARDIS in his backyard.
Yeah, that's true. Very true.
But
now, a lot of this, the beginning part of this trailer comes from the Church of Ruby Road, which we already saw. Like, so it wasn't that like this, a lot of stuff wasn't too new for us. But then it kind of breaks into it slowly but surely. We kind of get this moment where we have the ending of the last episode, which was meant to be a point towards this is the new season. We have that moment, I am the Doctor, of course, which is great. And then I love that little shot. That little shot of David Bowie's song comes in, and we see the different changes he goes through really quickly. Bursts of energy through the series. And it ends in that very strange moment. There it is. Look who that is. The little David Tennant
it's so
hologram. Like, I don't know what it is.
And that's young David Tennant too. That's like first 10. Couple of episodes David Tennant's. Yeah, that's 10. There's been a lot of chatter. People are very upset online because they use Tennant's face, and they're like, you couldn't use anyone else's face but Tennant's. But it's like, you also have to remember who was literally the last regeneration before him.
Right, David Tennant, absolutely. And quite frankly, if you look at this right here, this what he's dressed and everything, I know we see him in the previous episode. It almost feels like it's a throwback to I forget. I'm not good with the names of the episodes, but the
girl in the fireplace.
That's the one, the girl in the fireplace.
Yeah,
kind of feels a little bit like that era. Maybe those robots and everything else that were there. There's right sort of there, and so to see David Tennant in that time frame, that would make sense because that's the Doctor was in that episode.
And honestly, let's call it what it is too. It isn't the first time that the Doctor's used hologram technology or something to explain to someone who he is. And I'm going to guess that we're not only going to see Tennant's face in that. Like, possibly, guys, come on. You know, like every time he's done one of these type of things, you've pretty much seen every version of the character. Because do we remember when 11 regenerated and it started with him seeing from 1 to Tenant and walking through, or the next Doctor with the, et cetera, et cetera. We have seen these characters many times.
This is a normal thing. We love it when it happens. It's a reminder of the, I want to say baggage, but that sounds like a negative word, but like the history, the back, like the luggage that we have.
The
lore, exactly. It rewards us for sticking around for so long. But yeah, I love that moment. I love how he shots. We get to go to, let's see what's so cracks through that really quickly. Again, this is more from the first part again, seeing Dr. Brian May's wife there.
Yeah.
Obviously going to be in this season as
well. Love this.
Love that so much.
Is it safe? I don't know. The perfect response to the Doctor not really being aware of who and what his TARDIS is capable of right now. Love the shot of whatever's going on and then floating upwards. It's, again, they've said that this season's going to have a high fantasy element, and I kind of love that because we don't see that a lot. And I love dinosaurs.
Oh yeah, we're going to Jurassic Park of it all now. Sound of Thunder moment. This is what we were talking about. The expression on Shooty's face. Oh.
Yeah, it's perfect. And Shooty just sells it, man. Like, again, I love that they're even leaning in on the Sound of Thunder type thing because we really haven't done that before.
Right.
It just makes me happy. I wish that Shooty was more excited about the dinosaurs, though, because it gives me Matt Smith dinosaurs on a spaceship
Shit.
vibe.
Yeah. I
gotta say, man, the production value of this season is just otherworldly. Like,
right?
seeing so much of it, it just seems so much bigger already.
I agree.
Um,
Epic
I
looking.
love how it looks. Yeah,
Is that the
and I'm
same type of
really
alien? By the way, is that the same type of alien when they that she is it the same type of alien that
I kind of had that same thought, but I don't know for
okay.
sure.
Okay.
They look very similar. Also, that is Jinx Monsoon.
Correct.
That is a big guest star of this season.
Yep.
RuPaul Drag Race fans, stand up. I know my girlfriend is very excited for the Jinx Monsoon episode. Um, and I kind of love how weird and fantastical it already looks in this, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
This place is completely mad, and then to see like music notes floating around, and I
You
love
know
it.
what?
It
Little
feels
Sam Raimi,
weird and
a little
little
Sam
Sam
Raimi with
Raimi,
Doctor
little
Strange there,
multiverse of madness.
which we are stands here. I don't care what you all say. But also interesting
You're
enough,
all wrong.
first time I watched the
Unless you
trailer,
love it, in which case you're right.
first time I watched the trailer, I was like, was that Bette Midler in Hocus Pocus?
It looks a little bit like Bette Midler. I won't lie to you.
Hocus
But
Pocus
no,
style.
that would in fact be one Jinx Monsoon.
Yes, absolutely. No, absolutely. Um, what's interesting also, we get a lot of the happiness and the joyfulness that we get from the Doctor and he's at his best. Then we do transition a little. We get not just the fear, which we get the heavy moments there. We get, we get Ruby there firing some kind of weapon of some kind.
Yeah.
And we don't know where that's going on, but that seems very dark at that point.
I love the thing coming out of the skin looking thing, by the way.
Yes.
And this whole thing about the supernatural coming around is very cool. Again, I think that the superstition that was led into the universe at the edge of the universe is going to play a big part of this season, because as we know, there's still going to be a lot to do with what 14 said. He blurred the lines between reality and superstition, and that is going to rear its head. And this shot in particular is very interesting because we see the church before that, and this definitely looks like a monk of some sort. So I think we're going to be going back to the church.
The Hooded Stranger. That's right. The Hooded Stranger. The Hooded Stranger dropped Ruby off in the first place, potentially. Well. So this definitely looks like that. Great moment here where we get the chance that they face a monster of some kind. Of course, the Doctor saying, "Don't be silly. There's no such thing as monsters. Just creatures you haven't met yet." And then, sure enough, he's wrong, as he often is. Boom. It's a
Doctor.
monster.
No, never.
But you mentioned before, also the next part is their powers by the universe so vast. We get this shot of Ncuti looking in space somewhere, like in that looks like it possibly could be at the end of the universe, just like he was with as 14, and he is not happy. I don't know what's going on there, but he's not happy.
Ncuti's really good at selling the dynamic emotional moments already.
Yes.
Because it reminds me of the opening of the church on Ruby Road, where he has the tear coming down his face in the same way.
Yep.
Yeah, and I love this. The interior of the TARDIS with the explosions is never a bad thing to look at. It always means an immediate sense of danger in the right way. As long as the cloister bell goes off, I'm happy.
And it's basically a trial of tribulation that every Doctor has to go through at some point. Every Doctor's had their TARDIS explode of some kind throughout it. This line meant a lot to me. The whole world could slide into a pit. We see this post-apocalyptic thing. We have Ncuti trying to comfort Ruby as she sees it. And
that's the Beatles episode right there, by the way.
That is the Beatles episode. Okay. Because what's interesting to me,
that's very 60s. That must be the Beatles episode.
The whole world can slide into the pit. What makes me really weird about that is that there was an interview with Ncuti Gatwa before, at some point before. I remember specifically somebody asked him, which villains would you like to face as the Doctor? And he mentioned the Weeping Angels. But the other one he mentioned was the satanic creature that David Tennant faced in
the pit.
In the pit. And this is what we're trying to stop, the world sliding into the pit. I wonder if it's me being irresponsible speculation to it.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it would be nice. I would like to see that entity come back. It would definitely make that kind of big epic return in a way. So
also love this dynamic, by the way, of the mother being so involved this time and being worried about Ruby in such an interesting capacity, because I don't think we always saw that in previous seasons. Like, we do, but we don't.
Right.
I don't think we really got that in some of the later seasons with Capaldi or Whitaker, frankly.
Mhm, mhm.
Um, Moffat did a decent enough job when it came to Rory's dad, but then never shot that scene.
Right.
And if you know what I'm talking about, there is a scene that was later put on the Blu-rays that was basically an anima.
Animatronic?
What? No, like a storyboard. Thank you. There we go.
Okay,
Not an
gotcha.
animatronic, but like a storyboarded version, basically. I was gonna say an animatic is what I
Gotcha.
was trying to get
Might
to.
be what it is.
But the storyboarded version, basically, of the doctor sending the letter to
Mm,
Rory's father and explaining what had happened,
right.
and it's beautiful and heartbreaking and sad in the right ways.
Yeah.
But I don't really think since Rose, honestly, that we've had a mom who cared this much to like actually confront the doctor about
Right.
things.
Right.
I mean Donna
Maybe
to a point too, but
Martha too. Martha's mom
well,
is
okay,
big,
Martha's mom's almost super overbearing
psychotically
though
over it.
in a
Yeah,
different
absolutely.
in a very different way. Um, I feel bad that I don't like the season 3 more. I just do not
Yeah,
like that dynamic. It
I
just
wasn't a big
drives
fan
me
of that.
nuts.
I wasn't a big fan of that either, to be honest with Martha. It's not even that I don't like Martha. Martha's my least favorite companion, but like it's not necessarily her fault. It's more of like
Yeah.
what was written for her and everything else. And yeah. All right.
Also, I gotta say, the Doctor changes costume a lot in the
Yeah.
trailer already, which makes
Yeah.
me happy. I kind of love this feel that Shooty's Doctor is very stylish and living
Mm,
this like best version of himself where he
yeah.
is changing all the time and always doing different things.
Yeah.
It's kind of neat actually.
Yeah, I like that too. I like that too. All I gotta say about this particular moment here, Doctor has to stop promising to keep his companions safe.
Yes.
It's just you can't do it, buddy. You can't promise. You can promise you'll try. That's about it.
I do wonder if because with all the rampant speculation, obviously, that Millie is not the main character of this second season as the
Correct.
companion, it does make me wonder
How
if
she
we
is.
are gonna see him actually make sure that she is safe,
Right.
and he might actually do a thing where he's like, "I am leaving you behind to
Right.
be safe."
I mean, he's done it before to a degree, but always kind of comes back on him. I wonder. Would be really interesting is if he makes a weird, like not a weird choice, but he makes the choice to save Ruby over something else, potentially harmful that could really have some
Yeah,
hard consequences, all because he
I
made
could
the
see that.
promise, kind of thing, in a way. Um, but there's a lot of things going there. There's definitely some tension going on to Ruby. I do love that little rip through of
Yes.
Ruby's characters. But most importantly,
Changes.
my favorite thing happens, and I don't know if this is a edit in the trailer, or if it's an edit specifically for the trailer, if this is actually something that happens in the show. But it's a quick cut where we see Ruby looking at the doctor. That's it right there. And all of a sudden it goes back, and all of a sudden they switch to the church again, and like Judy looks like he's in the exact same position, exact same place.
Yeah.
And I know it's a different
Also,
costume and everything else, but it shows me that it's done for a reason. That edit for the trailer is
yeah.
done for a reason. So I'm very interested to see what that means.
Also, shout out to Mel. That the scene on the back of the motorbike is
Yep.
Shooty and Mel right
Yep.
there,
Yep.
which is great. I'm very glad Mel will be back this season as well. One of the good things about Russell coming back in all of this, and I think honestly, I got to give props to Chibnall a lot in this, is that he really did open up the world again to seeing the older companions again in a
Yeah.
way. I think everyone was always scared to open the classic Doctor's box because
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
outside of Sarah Jane, it didn't feel like any of them wanted to open that door necessarily. And I think the best thing that Chibnall did at the end of the Power of the Doctor was to jar that open. Davies had
Right.
started to in the Sarah Jane Adventures because he had the Brigadier come back. He had brought
Right.
Joe Grant back, obviously, in the 11th Doctor episode. They had started to do more of that.
Right.
But I'm glad to see characters like Mel going to have a bigger role.
And
It
like
was
they
good to
had
see her in the 60th, but
They also had a problem with the old doctors, the classic era doctors. I mean, you saw
Yeah,
them. Obviously, you saw the quick run of them in the 30th, in the 50th anniversary bit, and you got to see Tom Baker, of course. But that was the only one they kind of
and
felt
we
like they
got
could
Peter
do.
Davison in
Um,
the Time Crash
Time
special.
Crash, but that's kind of like, yeah, you're opening the box there, but like it's like one of those, like, that's not in the main show, so you can
Yeah,
kind of get away with it a little bit more maybe. But in the main episode, you really didn't see much from them. I mean, hell, they made the whole joke about that with the five-ish doctors and stuff,
yeah,
which is fun in a way. But it does seem like that's a little open more now to the ideas, and I think that they understand that the fans don't care how old they are. Like, you give us a line, oh, it's the time to displacement, and you're like, okay, sure, that makes him why he doesn't look the same. Okay, we get it. We're just happy to see them in the role. So
yeah. I mean,
absolutely,
and I think that Davies has really understood that with the Tales of the TARDIS, which if you haven't had a chance to check any of those out, you can see most of the bookended stuff on YouTube at this
yeah,
point with
right,
Colin Baker, McCoy, Peter Davison, Joe Grant. Like they really did a really nice job, and I love seeing Davies playing with those characters. Actually, that changes how many characters that Davies has written. Now that I
yeah,
think about it, because
that's
he
true.
is now written for 5 and 6 and 7 on
Mhm.
television.
That's true. That's very true. So, all right, this
Um,
is that last
yeah,
shot we were talking about with we mentioned before, the dilapidated TARDIS. We had that before as well. I can't remember which was it, Doctor Who episode. Like, was it a Matt Smith episode or was it a Capaldi episode?
it
Where they
was the
actually showed
Trenzalore.
Trenzalore. Was it Trenzalore that was like that?
Yeah, it was
Okay.
Trenzalore that was like that, but it was huge, remember?
Right.
Because
Yeah, I
it
remember
grows.
that. Gotcha. I thought there was another one though that was like that. That he let it go for a while. I can't remember what it was, but
Maybe the Blood family one with Martha.
maybe that's what it is. Either way, it's definitely a tried and true trope, and I'm wondering what it means here. I'm wondering what it means for this one, of course. Great run there at the end, and that's pretty much the entire trailer right there. So yeah, last thoughts before we finish up and get out of here.
It's just a good trailer. I really enjoyed it. I'm really looking forward to where it's going. I'm loving this renaissance of Who, and I know how that sounds because it's not like Doctor Who's really gone away, but you could feel the popularity from Capaldi on starting to wane. Like post
Yeah,
Matt Smith, post all of it, it just didn't seem to be really taking off. And it seemed to start to trudge out, and the Jodie Whittaker years were divisive at best in the
right,
fandom. Um, and again, I will always say, I will never blame Jodie. I thought her portrayal was great. I just never felt like the writing was really there for her.
right,
It gave me real Colin Baker vibes in the role. I'm really hoping that Jodie, who has like been pounding the sand about how much she wants to keep playing the character in some capacity, that Big Finish or even Russell finds a way to rope her into doing something again. Because I would love more than anything for her to get some writing that allows her to really pop off and be the doctor in
right,
a way that I don't think the writing was always there. But this trailer really gives me that excitement and that joy that I felt like at the end of the David Tennant run the first time, after Tennant regenerated. It was a hard uphill battle for a lot of people because this was going to be the first time they lost a doctor that they were all so damn attached to that
right.
they didn't really get that this was what the show was, that the doctor changes, that the world changes, that the tone of the show can change, your showrunner can change, everything about the show is going to be different. And I think that this trailer really promises that in all the right ways.
I agree.
And it's fun, it's exciting. I'm really looking forward to what they're doing. I think that is it going to be perfect? Probably not. I'm sure that I'll have my own minor quibbles and stuff aside. The Russell T Davies era of the show has many quibbles when you go back and watch certain episodes. Um, doesn't change the fact that I love them to pieces regardless, but there will always be quibbles with anything else, but I'm really really happy with how this looks. It's a great trailer. I think we're in for a good ride, man.
I agree. I fully agree. All right, that'll do it for us on this. Is supposed to be a mini episode of the Big Blue Box. We will be back come May when the series premieres on May 10th, Friday night for us, midnight. I don't know exactly what. There's a whole thing going on. I don't know. I didn't look into it much. Either way, the 10th, 11th, that's going to happen. We'll be back probably the following
we
Tuesday to cover
we're
the
on the
first
10th.
episode.
We get it, I think it's 7 p.m. or it's whatever time for us is midnight on the 11th
Right.
for the UK.
The Brits. Right.
And I guess real fast to talk about that. There's been a lot of talk about why that happened. The reason is that we are setting this to the UK time standard.
Right.
And there's a lot of people who are like, well, why are the US audiences getting it before us?
Prime
It's not
time,
that
yeah.
we're getting it before you. It's that for us, a lot of our shows on streaming services drop at 12 a.m.
Right.
We are doing that for you guys. It's just that your 12 a.m. is
Or 7
whatever
p.m.
time for
whatever.
us.
Right.
I'm not making excuses for it. I
Yeah.
do think it's a little weird that we are technically getting it early
Right.
comparatively, and we're getting it at a prime time spot. But it's not to make it for American audiences to get it first. It's because we set it to the 12 a.m. drop
That's
that
right.
we're used to doing
Yeah.
across the world, basically. So this is just one of those minor quibble things that we're going to have to figure out along the way.
Absolutely.
Fandom
Absolutely.
and streaming and everything has changed stuff.
Yeah.
So that's where we're at.
There you go. And so we'll be back probably that following Tuesday, I think, and breaking down the phrase. It is a double premiere. It's a 2-episode night
Yes.
for the premiere, which I'm very interested to see how that goes. But yeah, that'll do it. Where folks find you, PJ?
You guys can find me on all the socials at PJ Campbell. I'm always hanging out with this guy here, talking about movies and things, doing the thing as we always do. And if you're not if you're not excited already, you should come over and listen to us talk about Jason movies next, because we are finishing all of our Friday the 13th marathoning that we've been doing over on Two Mediocre White Dudes on Film.
That's right. They can find me at Baldhood and Newsy on Twitter. Also, 2 Meter White Dudes on Film, finishing up Friday the 13th. Before we get into John Wick, and then we're going to finish the big three finally and do our Nightmare on Elm Street watch through and go through that. We do a lot of horror stuff on that podcast. I'm not going to lie. We love horror. That's probably why I like Doctor Who, because there's definitely a tinge of horror in all of Doctor Who.
I hide behind my couch when I watch it. Like all the kids.
Absolutely. A bunch of the podcasts I do, Crown Jewels, my journey through the Queen catalog. We do a review, which is my journey through the V franchise from the 80s, one of my favorite sci-fi franchises growing up. And Holy Snokes every week on Wednesday for you. We do a Star Wars podcast with Matty Gunner. Yeah, that's right. See you guys next time. And see you next time. Yeah, see you next time. All right, bye now.
Adios.